Well, howdy folks, welcome back to the channel, and I'm a little bit excited because we've got something that's a little bit different than what I usually work on. I've come 3 hours north to a yard here up in the Sunshine Coast, just around the corner from Australia Zoo, it happens, because I have purchased myself something that I've been kind of wanting one for a while, and that's this little car here in the background. It is a 924 turbo. Let's get into it and have a look. So we'll get into the history of the 924 a little bit later. 924 was basically a car that was originally designed for Volkswagen. It was designed by Porsche. Volkswagen was looking for a two-door coupe to put into their line. It was the late 70s. The Beetle had stopped production and VW was producing the Golf, and what they did was they commissioned Porsche to design them a car that was based basically on with a lot of VW components. So when we get into this car later, you'll see it has a lot of VW stuff in it. When it came to production, it was just about ready for production. Volkswagen was having money issues and they pulled out. They was like, no, we can't do this. And they ended up making the Sirocco instead, which is basically just a squished Golf, and the car kind of sat there for a while, no one doing anything with it. And then Porsche was also having troubles. They decided that they wanted a new line of cars, and they decided to buy it back from Volkswagen. So I think they paid $50 million. They bought it back, the concept from Volkswagen, and started production of it. So basically what we've got is this little bad boy here, which is, probably a little bit more damage than what I was expecting it to be when I looked at the photos, but nonetheless, it's here. It's all here. And it is, a nice little two-door front engine. It was the first front engine Porsche had ever made, but it has a rear transaxle, and the rear transaxle is basically, it's out of a Type 2. It's basically a combi rear end, and we'll get into all of this later, but when you look inside, like, that's a Beetle door handle. So's that. But a lot of the parts are just Beetle parts. This one was an American one. It's been converted to right-hand drive. I'm going to try and get it running. I don't know how long it's been off the road for, but I'm guessing it's been off the road for a long time. You can see it's been on a macadamia farm. There's the mirror. It's had a removable. Oh, unfortunately, there's a lot of stuff that seems like it's rusty in here. Go around to this side, because in the photos you can see that this floor is just holding water, and you can actually see the battery trays rusted out and fallen down the inside there. But if I lift up the carpet, it's actually not bad under the carpet, which is awesome. That's awesome news. There is a rat living in this car. I just saw it. There's a rodent in here still. That's the timing belt I just ordered. Anyway, there's going to be a lot of getting through on this car before we can actually start trying to see if we can make it run. Let's pop the bonnet and see what's under there. More evidence of rodents. Lots of evidence of rodents. Just trying to see how you hold the bonnet up. Oh, there it is. So this car, I've actually never seen one before. This is a 924 turbo. The 924s were naturally aspirated and were pretty gutless. So they came out with this 924 turbo later. It put out about 180 horsepower. I'm trying to find any evidence of when it was last registered, or even what year model this is. The guy I bought it off, you know, they have a salvage yard here. You can see tow trucks and all kinds of cars going on, and they found it out in a farm somewhere, and it was full of rodents. And it also, that's going to be bad. That's going to be bad. It also, you know, doesn't run. Obviously, it's been unrunning for a long time, and that's something that we've got to get to. I did not see that crashed in the front of it. Yeah, there's lots of damage under there. Intercoolers, radiators, all kinds of stuff I'm going to have to figure out. I guess that's what we do. That's what we do. Anyway, welcome back. This is it. So it's loaded up. I mean, admittedly, this thing it's going to be a fair bit of work, but it is something I enjoy. So why not? You know, I'll give you a quick walk around it while it's loaded up on the trailer before we head home, and you can see what I've got in for me. Both front panels, fenders, guards are pretty caved in. This door has seen better days as well. Other than that, the rest of the car actually looks pretty good. I've got all the tail lights, everything's there, all the glass is in. These wheels are growing on me. I actually don't mind them. I might polish them up. It's not as rusty as I was expecting it to be, which is good. Which is, you know, I mean, you peel off some of these and there's actually no rust under there, which is awesome. That under the front section, I reckon that's just rusted through where they did the conversion. So that's kind of cool too. I seem to be missing, you know, some of these cover strips. I don't know if they're going to be able to be found. We might just have to make something happen there. Well, it is the next day. It took me a long time to get home yesterday. I mean, I got stuck in Brisbane in traffic, towing, you know, this thing. It wasn't fun, but I got here and it was just raining. Yesterday it was just raining and it's still kind of raining. I've managed to get this thing kind of off the trailer. Something's hanging up and I just can't figure out what it is. It very well could just be the brakes. It could just be the brakes rusted kind of. But none of the wheels are actually dragging. And I don't think it's in gear because the gear shifter seems to move. But I just can't seem to get it to roll. I've even put dollies under the back trying to do that. That back tyre is flat and is trying to drag. So I think what I'm going to try and do is put some air in that back tyre. The workshop's full. You know, we were expecting flooding rains over the last few days, which we did get. I got to admit, it was raining a lot. But, you know, no floods. We haven't had any rain for a minute, so... Floods, although, you know, it sounds scary. It always kind of brings that level of excitement. You know, when I was young around here, we used to, every flood, you'd go swimming in the flood waters. I know, very dangerous. All right, so I'm just going to try and see if I can pump up this. Honestly, before I can do anything on this car, I got to get some tyres. And initially, when I saw this car, I wasn't that big a fan of these wheels, but they are growing on me. They're these solid alloy wheels. They're almost like dinner plates. The back would have to come out a bit, so I'd probably have to get some nice spaces in there. What do you reckon? Tell me, what do you think about these wheels? They got the Porsche logos on them. They're 16s. I would have liked something with a bit of a dish in the back, honestly. Oh, maybe they suit the car. Anyway, we'll run with them for now. So I am going to have to get some tyres for them. Let's see if this thing holds air. It does seem to be coming up. I'll put some air in it, see if that gets the drag off the ground and, you know, see if that helps me. Well, it seems to be holding air, which is great. It means, you know, one less tyre that looks like that. Somehow, I feel like this one, you know, is not going to hold air. I'm starting to like this car. I'm actually, you know, I bought it on a whim, but I reckon this thing is going to be cool. When you're sitting in it, goddamn, you're low. And if I can get it to go even lower, you know, it's a Beetle. It's basically a Beetle. I mean, I'm looking at the suspension underneath it. I know how to lower this thing. You know, I've done it before, so this is going to be fun. Let's see if the other side is kind of holding air already. I just got to try and push it. All right, we're here, we're looking under this thing. I mean, it's a rat nest. No surprises there. This has got a hydraulic clutch. I just cracked it. Bone dry. Brake reservoir. Also bone dry. I have been noticing in this car, there's a few parts in the back. For instance, radiator overflow bottle. There's one in there. And a few other bits and bobs, as well as I found there's a full gasket kit in there with the new timing belt and all that kind of stuff in there. I don't know if I should be worried about that or happy about it. Usually gasket kits mean bad things, but it could also just mean that they've put a few new components in as they're reassembling the car. Let's get to cleaning it out and just see if we can kind of, you know, start trying to see if it turns over. A few of those kind of simple things. First steps is, you know, getting rid of some of these macadamia nuts. Macadamia nuts, this came from a maca farm and it's packed in pretty solid, you know, and I've just got to try and start wheedling it out. There was also an alternator in the back of the car, which means that the alternator's probably been replaced. This one looks newer than the one that was in there. So we might have charge, which is great. I mean, when you get these things, you think, oh, I'll just vacuum that out. But that stuff, it doesn't vacuum. Snake poo. That's one thing that we get here is snakes. And that's snake scat right there. So there was obviously a nice big carpety or something living under the bonnet at some stage. Probably should put some gloves on, but you know, why would anyone do that? These are all the fuel lines coming through here from the fuel distribution block, whatever you want to call that. and they go directly to the injectors. So this K-tronic injection system that's in here, it's kind of like the old diesels. It's like a direct injection system. It basically, it's squirting fuel all the time. I'm not exactly sure how it works. I've done a little bit of research, but what I do know is that before we try and crank this thing over, I want to pull those injectors out and make sure they're clean. We don't want to be pumping, it's a very finicky system. We don't want to be pumping stuff through. I might try and get the vacuum plugged in and see if we can't just start sucking some of that out as well. Just trying to get some of this stuff out of there. Anyway, I'll keep cracking on with this, and I'll get back to you when I'm done. When all else fails, call in the big guns. It's actually doing a pretty good job. So I've still got to get down there into the spark plugs and kind of get as much of that stuff out as I can. I'll get a screwdriver and do something with that. And of course the airbox. Let's have a look in there. That there to me looks like some kind of a, I was going to say catch can. I thought it might be a catch can of some description, but I guess all the hoses are perished on that. I guess we'll soon find out what that is. I'll get a screwdriver, see if we can undo the airbox setup. Oh. One thing I did notice down there is the radiator is kind of mashed in and there's no liquid in that, so I'm guessing that the radiator's cooked, which is upsetting because I bet you they're going to be hard to find. I don't want to be just blowing crap into there either. I reckon that's where it goes down into the turbo. And then as you've got the crossover pipe. Okay, I'm starting to see how this thing works now. I might try and just take that off from there. Just so I'm not just blowing stuff down into the turbo. That, I don't want to break that. Yeah. As expected, lots of junk in there. Lots of what looks like sand, but I'm thinking it's just macadamia shells just crushed up. We'll need the vacuum on that. I'm going to undo this one as well, just in case. Oh, there it goes. I want to see down in the top of that. Ooh. So I've been trying to do a bit of research on this thing and try and figure out when it was last driven or registered. There is a number plate on it. It's an old version of a Queensland number plate. There was no record on, I could probably go into the Queensland, what do they call them up there? We call them the service centre, and find out when it was last registered, but I'm probably not going to do that. I did find a little evidence though. So one thing I found, old pack of Marlboro Lights. Now we haven't had branding on cigarettes for a little while now. It's been a fair few years. However, this does have the smoking is addictive kind of, government health warning on it, but it still has the old branding. Now that's been gone for a while. Wouldn't be able to tell you what year that was. What I did find though is the Sunday Mail. And the Sunday Mail, was just sat in the back seat there and eaten by rats. And it is dated October the 13th, 2002. I'm guessing this thing has not been on the road since 2002. That is a long time. 24 years off the road, and I'm about to just try and kick it in the guts and see if it turns over. I mean, the K-Jetronic, I think that's what they call it, K-Jetronic fuel injection system is a dog. It's a bad system. And that's this setup here, and it's just known to have issues. I cracked this fuel line just like that, and you can see fuel coming out of it. When I was underneath hooking up the trailer, etc., I did notice some work had been done on this car. It had new fuel lines and stuff in under there. Also, there's a few things that have been replaced. Seeing if that made in Australia. That would not be made in Australia anymore, I can tell you that. This water bottle has been replaced, definitely. There's an alternator in the back. Having said that, this alternator that's in the back, this has no bracket, tensioning bracket on it at all. So I don't know what's happened to that. That's a good question. You can see I've managed to clean it up pretty well. There's the alternator there. Been looking for where the battery goes, and because this thing has been a converted, yank car, the battery goes in the back here. It didn't used to. It used to go in the front up here, and that is the only spot that the car has significant amount of rust. It's right there, and basically it is the panel that they've installed has just rotted away. So God only knows why that is. There is a mod plate on there. Now the mod plate would be for I'm just trying to see if there's a date on that. There's a chassis number. I reckon that's 96. July. I thought it looks like it says 84. I thought it was an 80 model. I'm going to try and take a photo of that and see if I can just clear that up a bit. Alright, so I got a battery for the thing. Will it be the right one? I don't know, because it's not in the right spot. It's not a bad spot for a battery. I don't know why they didn't just put the original one in there. Looks promising. Let's see, we don't want to... Nothing, there was no... Oh! The aerial popped up, that's weird. Key is in the ignition. Let's turn it and see what it does. Windows down. Well, that's a bonus. I just wanted to stay. Oh, they want to come down. That's weird. Okay, so what do we got? Brake light is on. I did not hear a fuel pump kick on. Don't know what that was. There's a lot of electrics in this car. What is that? Bet you that was the headlights. Bet you that was the headlights trying to kick on. It turned over once. Oh, there goes the... Why is everything on? Come on, wipers, go off. Right, I got fast. I got no off for the wipers, great. Oh, why is that? Right, so the wipers just want to keep going. That one's got no rubber in it, so that'll be scratching. I'm going to take the wiper arms off just so I don't have issues with it down the track. I don't want to be scratching the glass if I can help it. 13, I'm guessing. Let's just do that. Windscreen wiper's gone. Let's try that again and see what else is going on. Blinkers are doing something. That was blinkers, righto. Well, that's good. It's just the windscreen wipers are... So it is cranking over, we know that. I just thought I'd better check the oil. Oh, and that just fell out. That can't be good. Where did that even go? Is that it there? I believe that is. If I jam that down in there, is there any actually oil in there? There is some right in the bottom, and it looks clean, but it looks very, very low. Okay, I'm gonna have to do something about that, but I'll just put that back in there for now. So I'm just gonna pour something that I've got in there. Where are you? Can you even see what I'm doing? There. I will say, looking in the top of the engine, it looks very clean. I just want to make sure it has some oil in it. You don't want to be spinning them too far on no oil. Righto, that has some oil in it. I mean, what did it register on the stick now that doesn't have the actual tube to verify? Yeah, okay, so it's now got oil, which is good. I'm just going to leave that in there just so I don't lose it. Now, I either got no fuel or no spark. And the fact that I can't hear a fuel pump come on when I turn the key, we've probably got no fuel. So what I'm going to do is I'll jack the back up. I'll try and find the fuel pump. I believe these things had two, one internal and one external. I can see some skullduggery going on underneath the back there the other day when I was looking. So let's just get under there and see what's there. You can see when we get under here, how closely related these things are to a Volkswagen or a Beetle. They just look like a T2 combi axle to me, IRS axle. Even the gearbox kind of looks like just a flipped version, like it's almost like it's just facing, I don't know. There's your torsion tube in there, which is the same as a Volkswagen. These just look like an IRS axle, IRS swing arm straight off a bug, or a T2 combi. Surprised actually the size of the exhaust. I don't know if that's stock or if someone's made an exhaust for this thing, but it looks beefy. I'm saying it's at least 2.5 inches, if not 3-inch exhaust going under this thing. I'd say it's going to have a note, especially when I cut this bit off. There's my fuel tank. It looks in pretty good nick. It feels empty. There's a fuel pump. I'm going to check power to the fuel pump and just see, have I got any juice back here? I mean, this is kind of, funkily cobbled together. If not, I will be looking at why not. That's the first step. Still stuck on this fuel pump. I removed the fuel pump, took it inside, hooked 12 volts to it, and it was pumping. So it could be a relay. Oh, that's always, you just find all the little broken things, don't you? That's why that door's not working well, because that's broken. Probably impossible to find one. The good news is the key that starts the ignition also, I've already opened it, but it also does the fuel cap and it does the doors. So I've got a one key car, which is, I just don't want to lose that key. I drained some fuel out of the bus because that's the only fuel I had. This is going to be a problem too, I can tell now. I'm just going to pour some in there. I'm going to have to figure out a way of jerry-rigging that open. Basically what I've done is the wiring up in here was janky. Obviously someone had wired in a new fuel pump at some stage, and the wires were literally just twitched around. So I've joined them on properly. I've removed the secondary pump. There is a secondary pump in these. I've removed the wires for it. I'm hoping I don't need them. I'm going to pour some fuel in there and just, I've located the relay for the fuel pump, so I'll check it next, give it a wiggle. I've located the fuel pump fuse, which is in there, so we'll just go through all that. Right, well, I have been playing with this thing all morning. Fuel pump relay is definitely shot. I jumped it. Without the fuel pump relay jumped, the ignition module doesn't spark up. Been kind of to and froing with it. This here is the ignition module. I thought it was no good, and the way they face up, and it was full of water. But I am getting 12 volt to the coil, still no spark, and I'm thinking, why the hell am I getting no spark? I've been rotocap off, rotocap on and off and trying to think that maybe. And then I realised, it always seems to be in the same spot. Reached in, and the timing belt, which is in here, has just let go. I don't know if it's broken or what's going on there. Hopefully I haven't done any damage. Didn't hear any clanging or banging, so I'm thinking probably not. Right now, I'm just trying to take the timing cover off because, believe it or not, in there is a timing belt. Came with the car. So I'm trying to just get in there. I've got to get this, I've got to get stuff off to get in there, basically. So I think I'll just remove the alternator, a few other things, see if I can get in there and whip this thing off. Well, that was a bit of a fight. I got to admit, getting that in behind there. There was one timing cover bolt in there that was just a nightmare. Now that is loose. The problem is, I've got to somehow see how to time this thing. There must be, that tensioner, it's still spinning. I do have a new timing belt ordered with the tensioner and everything, but sitting right there is a new timing belt. And by new, I mean probably 20-something years old. I should pick that up. That looks like an important gasket as well. Do I just throw it in? I got to try and figure out how to set the timing on this. Actually, there must be some marks somewhere. I think it's something to do with that there. And there'll be a timing mark somewhere on there. Let me just get some spanners. I got to take the AC belt off, which I was probably going to take it off anyway. I'd like to get the AC going in this car. Why not, But I'll get it off so it's not spinning up, and then see if I can get the rest of that timing belt out, maybe clean this out a bit more, so on and so forth. Took me a minute to find the timing marks on it. I had to clean this up with a wire brush, and you can see it has a timing mark right there, a little dot, to line up with that arrow there. And down on the bottom, there's a mark on this pulley here that lines up with that. You can see someone's fitted an aftermarket alternator because it's not meant to have those washers in there. I guess if it works. Anyway, now I'm going to try and install this timing belt. Let's see if I can sit you guys there and watch. Alright, so I managed to do that from down there. Timing belt is on that one. Still in time as far as I know. So then I need to come over this tensioner. Which I just need to get it out of the way as much as it goes, I guess. And then that seems short. I don't think I should have to stretch it on like that. totally. That's on. I mean, it might stretch around a bit. With that belt on. I feel like that's it. Can I get this tensioner to go on? Got it to go on. I won't hook the water pump up because I've got nothing water pumping. It's all kind of back together. I've got the timing belt on, distributor's back in. It's obviously turning now, which is great. So these are the tricks I have to do now. So, I don't even know if you can see that. See if I can. I've got a jumper wire for the fuel pump relay because it don't work. So I just had to make a jump wire across because without the fuel pump, you don't get any ignition. Fuel pump's going. Now, I've got a spark rigged up to a lead here. I'm trying to, determine whether I've got spark. So I'll just crank. Yes! Yes! I've got spark. Finally got spark. Kind of felt like it was turning over properly. It kind of grabbed right at the bottom there, but I had spark. So maybe it tried to fire on one of the cylinders. I don't know. Let's just plug that back in to number one. Or it could be catastrophic. Nothing, but it kind of almost tried to. Right, I've got about a minute left. It is Valentine's Day. I promised my darling wife I'll take her out for dinner. I just managed to kick it over. I've been rooting around with this thing for hours. Like, I'm talking all day, basically Valentine's Day, and this stuff is electrical stuff. So basically, without the fuel pump relay, it does not hit the ignition box. Like, that won't fire up. So you'll have no power to the coil without the fuel pump relay. Fuel pump relay is shot. So we have no fuel pump relay. But what I do have, I've basically figured out how to get it spark. I've jumped the relay, so I've managed to make that work. The problem is, if I leave the fuel pump on for too long, I end up with too much fuel in the cylinders because it's meant to only kick on to start, and then it obviously gets a signal from the ignition to keep running. I'm just going to try and jerry-rig it back up, see if I can get this thing to fire one more time and call it a day. You heard it. It kind of ran. Didn't make any bad noises, which is good, you know. There's a lot of work to do. But that's the basics, kind of sorted. Anyway, I'm going to have to pack it up right now. Look, let's get on with it again tomorrow. Well, good morning. It is morning, and I've been fighting for the last couple of hours, trying to get the interior out. I mean, we heard it run yesterday. I'm doing the research. Basically, that fuel pump relay, they're pretty much non-existent. You can't find one anywhere, which is great. Is that just going to be the way it goes with this car? I hope not. I mean, I can get one. I can find one. They're over $200 for a fuel pump relay. You know, it's ridiculous. Some of the forums have said, yeah, you can pull them apart and try and solder them. So I probably will have a crack at that in a minute. But before I went too far and start ordering $200 parts and $500 parts and $1,000 parts, I just wanted to get inside and have a look, you know. So managed to pull the front carpet out. I'm gonna probably gurney it off. It might be good enough. Probably not. You can order them. Do I want to? Probably not, but you know, that's how it goes. Depends how far I go into this car. This is the inside. Okay, so being the fact that you can see daylight through there and water's just pouring through the bonnet, I was expecting the floor to be completely rusted out, and it's not. It actually isn't. That there is just it's opened up a little bit, don't get me wrong, but that looks like just one of these drain holes. So it's not altogether terrible. I mean, I've seen a lot worse. I probably should peel up this this stuff, which is, you know, probably hiding a bit more, but you know, even under that, you see, it's not terrible. This seat, it fought me. It just fought me. And you can see what's left of the rodent village under there. And I'm hoping when I lift this carpet up, it's kind of more of the same. Like, yes, bad, but not like unfixable or, you know, worth my trouble kind of bad. You know, mostly it looks pretty good. Like, it's not terrible. So the bottoms of the seats, you can see it's sat in a puddle of water for a long time. I will probably clean them up. I actually do have different rails that I'll see. They come off those Auto Technica seats that I use. They always come with a kit, and they look very similar to this. So maybe I can whip them up and make them work. It's raining. It's humid. Can't even wear my glasses because I just can't see out of them. But I'm going to keep cracking on anyway. I mean, the goal of today is basically I will just get it running. But in the meantime, what I want to do is clean out the inside, get rid of all the rat debris, give it a good wipe down, probably pressure clean the engine bay, and just leave it this weekend thinking, yes, it runs. I mean, clutch pedal, brake pedal, like they're just rock solid. So I'm thinking at minimum, slave cylinder, master cylinder, you know, all that stuff. I'll be ordering that. But like I said, I don't want to be ordering all that stuff if the thing's just rusty beyond repair. Anyway, I'll keep cracking. It started raining again. I can't remember where we were at. I kind of got carried away, as I do. Was it raining last time? I think it was. Well, it still is. Was the whole front end torn off the car last time? I don't think it was. Now, you might think I'm crazy to do it like this. The reality is I'm buying parts. I need to buy parts. And, you know, it's going to be a fair few parts if I'm going to get this thing actually back on the road. I'd love to make this thing an outlaw, but I think the reality is that, you know, I'll probably just paint it the original colour again. And that's kind of where I'm going. I think I'll just go original colour, maybe even the original wheels. I actually don't mind these wheels now. I didn't like them when I first looked at them, but when you look at them, they're kind of cool. Like these deep dish the wrong way alloys. And they're gold and they're kind of cool, so I might just clean them up. Green, gold, kind of bluey, I guess it's blue and gold. Kind of suits the era, kind of suits the car. But what I'm getting at is that it needs parts. So, you know, I've mentioned clutch slave, master cylinder, completely solid, leaking. Brakes seem to be locked up. I mean, steering, yep, that's probably not good if it does that. You know, it's going to need a fair bit. So I'm thinking, well, I better have a good look in here before I do that to make sure it's worth it. Now, we did look in the inside. I managed to get both the seats out. It's actually not too bad. I was expecting worse, so I will clean that out now and just give it a good clean inside and try and get that, you know, back to decent. The front guards, I ripped them off. The main reason being they were damaged. Originally I thought, oh yeah, well I can probably repair those. But when I was on my way back from purchasing the vehicle, I stopped into a fella to pick up a starter motor. And he had 2 cars sitting out the back. These 2 cars. And I hit him up, you know, have you got guards? Have you got any parts? And he said yes. So I ended up getting a good set of front guards. That's one of them there. They're Aussie spec guards, so they don't have these big things in them, which I prefer. So I'll be doing that. I'll probably shave the ones off the back. And also, there's the other guard. A good driver's door, not dented like my one is. So it kind of gave me reason to think I may as well get this car, you know, try and get it good. My next step on this is just going to be to gurney the hell out of it, just clean everything the best I can, because, you know, today's nearly over. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tidy up, clean everything up. I've got to get tyres, I've got to do brakes, I've got to do all kinds of stuff to get this thing further along. Clean everything up and gurney it up. Then we'll come back and we'll just try and get it to run that one time for the finale. Let's get into it. Well, nothing like a good clean up, you know, kind of lets you reassess the situation. Looking over this car, all I can imagine is that someone bought it and did a bunch of work to it and then maybe crashed it and then just parked it. It seems to be like, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that needs fixing because it's sat for so long. But, I mean, those brakes look brand new to me. Even the rotors, like there is not a groove or a mark on them. What was I saying? I mean, the car has, it has 97,000 miles on it, on the odometer. It probably has 97,000 miles on it. Like, it's not that, which is, you know, what's that, 150,000 Ks? It's not much. It's been painted, and I reckon it's had a bunch of work done to it. It just looks like that way. You know, I found parts in the back. There was a whole gasket kit in there, which is where I got the timing belt out of, which kind of scares me. You know, has it done a head gasket? I don't know. For some reason, there was almost zero oil in the bottom of it. There was some oil, and it looked clean. It looked new. That was just green sludge. So they've come up actually, you know, better than I expected. That was the driver's side. If you remember looking at it, it was bad. So, you know, can I reuse them? Look, they might be good enough for now. You know, let's just not spend too much money on this thing. And I didn't want to put them away dirty. So I cleaned them. I've hung them up. The next step, I was just freeing up those front brakes because that seemed to be the problem while they were seized. I've just sprayed some juice on in and around everything. Gave it a bit of a tap with a hammer and we're free, you know, so that's good. There seems to be, I don't know, there seems to be a bit of movement in the steering. It probably means a steering rack. They look very similar to a Super Beetle steering rack, which I've got one inside, so I don't know. I mean, they're not that expensive as far as the parts go on this car. They're available. and not overly expensive. So maybe I'll just, you know, get it running. That's the thing. I've got to see where and what I want to spend money on. The next thing, I mean, you can see the engine bay after a clean. It's not bad. It actually does not look terrible, you know. Obviously, things get cleaner as you go. As you progress, you clean things more. This is an AC car. Like I said, I'd like to keep it AC, you know. This is the main area of concern. It is rusty through here. This panel here is a completely fabricated panel, and it doesn't go far beyond that, to be honest. Like, what's that? There's things that I just don't know what they are. That looks like a drain is what that is, which wasn't working, obviously. But I think we can repair that. I think we can clean that up and repair that. That's not, you know, that was just someone had just folded up some kind of panel and put it in there. Obviously, I'm going to try and take that out now, actually. Get rid of that rusty bit, see what they've built in here. Someone's built in some kind of a frame to take all the pedal assemblies and whatnot. Clutch. This, I'd say, is seized. Brake master. You can buy a kit for these brake masters. Seized. Brakes. I've just got no pedal at all. If anyone happens to have one of these things kicking around with some bits they want to give me or sell me cheap, please let me know. I'd love to get some cheap bits for it. I can see this thing blowing out real quick. Anyway, I am just going to keep toddling on. I'm going to try and remove this rust section. You can see actually where they've welded it in. They haven't even painted over their welds, it looks like. So I'm going to just try and clean that bit of rust out. I'll keep these two plates because I reckon they're important. And we'll give it one more crank, try and see if we can get it going. This is the offending relay, and basically why the car won't start on its own, you know, without jumping it. So look, oh, the workshop's a mess again. Why do these videos always end in the workshop's a mess? What I've got to try and do, glasses are fogging up, is see if I can open this bad boy up. Without stabbing myself would be good. And maybe see what's wrong with it. Oh, just, you wear glasses so you can see, but then you can't see nothing. So now I'm blind. Okay. I mean, there's nothing obvious that I can see that would make that. Not work. I am not an electrician, nor an auto electrician, nor a rocket scientist. Alright, well here is where I'm at. Like, I have made a lot of progress on this car. I have made it, you can't call it run. I've made it fire in a sequential order multiple times, you know. The inside is all cleaned out. Like, it's pretty good compared to, you know, the rat turd that I found. And I'm fairly happy with most of it. You know, I mean, there's some stuff that needs addressing. There's some dodgy wiring. I tried fixing this relay. It did not fix. So I got to get another relay. It should run jumping that across, so I'd still like to try and get it to run. You know, that would be great. Two things could be making it not run. One is there's a bunch of stuff chewed. You know, there's wires like that one. Is that... I mean, it's obviously some kind of sensor. Not really sure. There's an earth wire that's been chewed. There's a few wires that have been chewed. I could probably try and fix a couple of those. There's a bunch of vacuum lines that are just completely corroded. I don't know how important vacuum is just to make it run. I know getting it up in the rev range, it probably would need it. I might try and just repair that vacuum line then. I'm pretty sure the distributor only needs advancing as it gets into the rev range. The other thing is I could should and could take out the injectors and try and give them a clean. I think that's probably what I'm going to try and do next. Just pop them injectors, make sure I'm getting fuel to every one of them, make sure one's not hanging up, all that kind of stuff. Having that full of water is probably not helping. I should probably blow that out. Anyway, so I am going to keep cracking for a minute, see if I can get this thing to run. Let's see how I go. Let's just be honest, conditions are not ideal. I do have a nice seat to sit in though. You know, they're pretty comfy, these seats. They're kind of huggy. Look, I've managed to remove the injectors. I managed to get 3 of them out. The other one, I have to take the crossover pipe to get it off. Of course you do. What I'm trying to do now is just see, you know, can I clean these things out? Are they opening? You know, like I guess is the main thing. So what I've done is I've made myself a little pipe. I'm going to hook it into compressed air. Got the compressor running. They screw in quite nice to that pipe. I'm going to actually fill it up full of you know, carb clean. And then I'm just going to hook it into compressed air and just see, does it shoot? Let's just see what it does. Nope, it did not shoot. It shot the bloody thing across the room. Definitely have opened up at that much pressure. I might put a hose clamp on that, see if I can get it to stay in there a bit better. Try that again. Hose clamp installed. Put some more jazz in there. Come on. I'm going to say that opened. I mean, I guess we'll soon get a feeling of what the other ones feel like. So that's one. What I was saying was number 4 was just full of fuel. So it was either stuck open, which is probably just as bad as being stuck closed, or that's what they're meant to do. They just pump fuel continuously, which I think is actually what they do. So you kind of got to make sure you got it ready to start before you turn the fuel pump on, you know. I guess that's why it has a relay. Let's see what this one does. That one seemed to spray a lot better than that other one. They do take a lot of pressure though. I could probably Google it and it'll tell me exactly how many bar that takes to open. But I won't. I'll just continue on as I am. It's really starting to rain now. Let's see what this one does. Oh, of course I'm out. You can never buy enough cans of that stuff. See what this one does. That one also seems good. Let's see what this one does. See that one? That one is not, doesn't open as easy. I wonder if I can blow back the other way. Let's see if it squirts out any good. I mean, it's doing something. It just doesn't seem to have the same pattern as those other ones. Oh yeah, that's better. Oh, that's way better. Okay. Oh, that's better. I might give them a bit of a clean. This may be where I hit the point of no return. I may have already gone past that point. This is the K-Jetronic, I don't even know what you call it. I guess it's like a metering block. This is what all the fuel lines go to and come from, including the fuel injection. I don't know if it was... There seemed to be no fuel coming out of the lines that go to the injectors. Now, doesn't need back pressure to make it squirt. I don't know. But I decided to pull this thing apart. I mean, the reality is that if this fuel injection system doesn't work, and I will say I think why it was running a little bit is because there was definitely pressure to the line of the the extra injector, the pre-start injector, whatever you call that cars have. There was definitely pressure running to that line. You know, so I just thought, I guess what I was saying is that you can buy a whole new fuel injection system for these. It's not cheap. It's probably, it comes from England, from a company over there. I'm going to reach out to them. It comes with a whole new, it's like a common rail kind of injector setup. And I'm thinking that it's like £1,500 or something like that, which is, you know, double our money and then shipping and all the rest of it, which is more than what I paid for the car. But it seems to run without making any kind of clangs and bangs. So I'm just kind of thinking, well, worst case scenario, I pull this thing apart, I can't put it back together, you know, which does happen. It hasn't happened to me yet where I pulled something apart that didn't go back together properly, but could happen. This, I think, is a very tricky little system. Be interesting to know what's going on in here though. See that there? I'm going to put a mark on that. In case it has a torque spec, I guess. because there's a flap here that I've got to fold down to get that nut off. I don't know. This guy's probably cringing right now watching me do this. I mean, if it don't run, it don't run. And I've got to be able to make it run. Otherwise, what's the point? What size is that? Kind of thought that undoing all them screws and whatnot would have just made that come apart. I'm going to try and clean this down and see if I can assemble it back how it was. You know, cleaning things sometimes helps. All right. It's back together. Cleaned it out. There was a bunch of debris in there. I don't know if I did anything. Sometimes, you know, chances of it working again are probably very, very low. But what to do? Let's try and bolt it back in the car and see if it runs any better than it did before. All right, it's all back together. I did jump the gun a little bit and try and get it to fire, and it kind of ran better than it has. Come on. Oh, now it's making a liar out of me. I'm going to say that's running on 1 or 2. Might help that this one spark plug's not in. I am going to just try and blow, I think there's some fuel kind of still sitting on there. I might just try and blow some of that off real quick. Let's try that again. That does nothing. Right, this is where I'm at. Come on. Now it just wants to rev on. But I've got no control, like a little bit, kinda. I can start to hear the turbo whistling, it sounds like, which, are you meant to? Like usually I'm not under load, you don't. I'm not really sure where to go from here. It's definitely something funky going on, you know. Why is it not dropping back down and just giving me like responsive revs? I don't really know. Okay, whatever that, so that's your main, that secondary throttle seems to be something to do with that. It seems to be kind of warming into itself, like this thing has not been run for 24 years, I think we calculated. I think that's the battery dead. Look, I've been fighting this thing for 3 days now. I think that is where I'm going to have to leave it on this video. I mean, we saw it run. Will it run? Yes, it will run. Is it driving? No. It's a long way from driving. Do I think it'll come around? I've got to do some research. I want to see whether or not, like, it seems to run. The engine it's not making any noises. It seems to run fine. I'm thinking this fuel injection system is antiquated and it's troublesome. I know that. I can get a good fuel injection system for this car, and I think I might just go ahead and do that. I mean, it seems to be doing its thing. Let me know. Why don't you guys comment? Let me know. I'm going to sit on this for a minute. This one is going to sit back. I've got it running. I've dragged it home. I've got to get tires for it. I've got to do a bunch of stuff just to get it so it's actually a roller. Next week, I will be getting back on to the 50 Shades project, which is just sitting in there patiently. Sometimes you just need to have a break and just get into some stuff to actually get yourself fired back up for, the stuff you've worked on for a long time. Do you like this car? Do you want to see more of it? If you do, please comment. If you haven't already, hit subscribe. I'd say this little 924 turbo is going to be part of the fleet. Let me know what you think. On that note, I'll catch you all later.